How you doing, everyone? Welcome back. We're going to go off on a little bit something different here. Right? Yeah, that was great English, wasn't it? Uh, I'm going to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. Well, not a whole lot different because I'm still talking to the camera and hopefully you're watching it. But yeah, we're going to go in a different direction. Neighbors. Neighbors. Yep. If you're anything like me, you've had good neighbors and you've had not so good neighbors. I mean, I've had, neighbors that would call the police over every little thing, fireworks being set off on the 4th of July type stuff. Which these days I'm not crazy about the fireworks, but back then, oh yeah. Come on now. You gotta do the fireworks. These days I don't like them so much, but, that's neither here nor there. Neighbors that would call the police over, a dog barking, dogs bark. Come on now. Especially, you know what? You have dogs too. And your dogs bark. So, or call the police. Now, they didn't call the police on me, but they called the police on another neighbor because invisible fences are popular in my neighborhood. And the one dog's collar, the battery went dead in the collar. Therefore, the invisible fence did not stop the dog from leaving the yard. Well, I mean, those things happen. Now, super friendly dog, right? Super friendly dog. Unfortunately, that dog's no longer living, but she was super sweet. Yeah. So that dog just happens to get out now. What should you do in a situation like that? I know what I would do. I would try to call the dog to me and take him home. Or her, in this case. Take the dog home. Say, hey, you know what? Your dog got out. It happens. I mean, yeah, you do everything you can to prevent stuff like that. Because safety of the animals and, well, everybody else's safety for that matter, because if an animal gets scared, it could bite. So I understand kind of where the neighbor who called the cops is coming from, but not really. I mean, you may not know that dog. I mean, you know whose dog it is, though. But then you go over and scream at the neighbors, over something. Yeah. Well, those are not so good neighbors, right? And I think we've all had some not so good neighbors. But I also have some fantastic neighbors. When my wife and I first moved into this house, I've got a yard that requires a riding mower. I didn't have one yet. I mean, our previous house, I could have used one, but I didn't think I needed one, so I push mowed it. Well, I didn't have a riding mower. And that wasn't something that we really put a whole lot of thought into before we moved in. Until I was able to get one, however, I had a neighbor who mowed for me. And I would have gone out there and push mowed it, but it would have taken a whole lot longer because, I mean, the terrain in this yard and, I've got trees that I didn't have before, and the last yard was fairly flat, whereas this one is not. You know, it would have taken a while. You know, as it was, the last one took a couple hours. And that's, you know, if I didn't stop to take a break, which I usually did. But yeah, I've got a bigger yard, rougher terrain, and more obstacles. You know, so that push mower not very practical here. You know, so it was very nice that he mowed for me. You know, and my mower, well, I bought it used, and what I didn't realize is that I got it from somebody who was maybe a little bit shady, or maybe he just didn't realize just how not good the mower was, I guess. But I don't know. I got a feeling the guy was a little bit shady. Anyway, the mower deck, it rusted all the way through and busted off. Now keep in mind, I've only been here a year. Yeah, used mower, but still. I mean, I actually sent it to a place that specializes in repairing that type of equipment. They're like, nope, we can't do it. And I'm guessing that was a legal thing, that, you know, legally we're not allowed to do this because we can't do it correctly. And my neighbor, he took a look at it. He's like, you know what? I think I can fix that. Professionals couldn't fix it. It's like, yeah, I know. It's not going to be, it might not look the best, but it'll work. And that's going to save you, you know, buying a new mower, or, you know, buying, you know, I could have bought a new mower deck, but then, you know, I would have had to pay for shipping because they didn't have the part on hand, and that was going to cost more than I really wanted to spend. And would have just been easier just to get a new mower at that point. But he's like, nah, let me take care of it for you. Okay, if you think you can. Well, he did. I don't know exactly what he did, but it works. It definitely works. And that's the type of neighbor that you want to have. That's the type of neighbor that you should strive to be like, right? Now, their kids come over and play in our yard, which, you know, it's fine. Perfect. I mean, I actually kind of like having having kids around, you know. I mean, I kind of like having them not, at my age anyway, having them not be my kids. You know, I'm too old for that now. You know, I like having kids that I can send home, if you know what I mean. And I still love kids, but, you know. But yeah, they've got a couple little kids, and their kids, they come over and play in our yard, and that's fine. And, you know, these neighbors are fantastic. In fact, I'm going to go out and say, this isn't even really going out on a limb. I'm just going to say, in my adult lifetime, they're the best neighbors I've ever had. That's not an exaggeration. That's the truth. I mean, and some of the neighbors I don't know, but I'm also, I mean, if you've seen my videos, you've seen what outside looks like. And, the houses are not all that close together. They're also not all that far apart either. We're not stacked on top of each other, but we're not so spread out that, the nearest neighbor's half a mile away. But, yeah, neighbors. Funny thing is, when we bought this house, we were looking for a truly rural property. Well, we didn't quite find that. But I'm all right with it. We didn't want neighbors. And really, that was a me thing, more for my own mental health type thing. Well, between that and the fact that my wife grew up in a very rural setting. So it was also for her. She grew up in a rural communities, and I just wanted to be away from people for my mental health. And it turns out that we've got a rural enough area, even though it's not really rural. It's more like a kind of a subdivision. But it's all right. It worked out. Saw the house, and my wife is like, yep, I want this house. In fact, she found it online, called up our realtor, who is a friend of ours, actually, and said, hey, I want to see this house. So she comes in, looks at the house, it's like, okay, you know what? He's at work. He's not going to be back until about this time. Can we get him in here tonight? Me being him, of course. And we looked at it, and here we are. We live here now because really the house is just perfect for us. But what's even better though is I've got the best neighbors that I've had in my adult lifetime. And even though I wanted a perfectly rural area, I'm kind of glad we didn't get that, because then we wouldn't have these cool neighbors that we get. We don't know them all, and there's one in particular that I'm not crazy about, but what are you going to do? You'll have that anyway, right? Anyway, try to be a good neighbor. See you next time.